So I'd like to welcome everyone to the November meeting of the Sherman Oaks Homeowners Association. And we're very pleased to have our council member, Nithya Raman, as our guest speaker this evening. Before we start, Bob, any other instructions for the people that have just joined us?
I think that's it, Richard. Just be sure to put your question in the Q&A box. We already have one coming in, so that's the best place. We've got a bunch we got before the meeting too. So it's going to be an interesting meeting.
So first of all, I'd like to have the board of directors introduce themselves. We'll start off with Matt.
Hi, everybody. I'm Matt Epstein. I'm co-vice president of the Sherman Oaks Homeowners Association. I will be asking the questions tonight. I see that people are starting to send some of the questions in. If you've already submitted a question to us via email, please do not put it on the Q&A. We already do have it. So the first question that somebody did send in is repetitive. So it's the same question from the same person. So we already have that. And I look forward to a lively show tonight.
Okay. Next is Jules.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jules Fear. I'm co-vice president of the Sherman Oaks Homeowners Association and also honorary mayor of Sherman Oaks. I want to remind you all that on December the 5th will be our 23rd annual toy drive at Gelson's Market on Van Nuys Boulevard in Sherman Oaks from 11 to 2 p.m. Please come attend. We expect a very large turnout of elected officials and other important people for you to enjoy conversations with.
And is that Sunday?
Sunday,
December 5th?
Sunday, December 5th.
Excellent. Excellent. It should be a fun event. It normally is. Matt, are you bringing the antique cars?
I am bringing an antique car, one, yes. And there might be a couple other antique cars from other folks coming. So if anybody in the audience does have an antique car and you want to join us, that would be a fun thing to have.
Okay. And Jules, we're also going to have fire trucks, police vehicles, and the children's favorite, which is the clean garbage truck. Is that right?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay, next up is Tom.
Hi, good evening, everyone. This is Tom Glick. I'm a board member, and it should be a great meeting tonight. Looking forward to it, and happy Thanksgiving to everyone, too.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Next is John.
Hi, I'm John Eisen. I'm treasurer of the association and looking forward to the council members speaking to us.
Okay. Maria.
Hi, everybody. I'm Maria Calban. I'm the chairman of the legislative committee for SOHA.
Thank you. And Marshall's not on. So next up is Nancy.
Hi, everybody. I'm Nancy Segoyan, board member and also the membership chair. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us. I'd like to wish you all a happy Thanksgiving. And I'd like to give special thanks to all our members who make all our work possible on behalf of the community. And if you are not already a SOHA member, please join. We're the only nonprofit, 100% member-supported community organization that works hard to benefit Sherman Oaks and produce good outcomes for us. You can go to our website, which is soha914.com. You can join there. If you have a question, you can email me directly at joinsoha@gmail.com. So thank you all. By the way, our toy drive, you want to bring an unwrapped gift and it benefits the Los Angeles Child and Family Services. So they really count on all the gifts. We look forward to seeing you. It's a really fun event. So please come join us. Thanks a lot.
Okay. Next is our neighborhood prosecutor, attorney Andy Solomon.
Hi, everyone.
I think you left out Jay, Richard.
Purposely. Okay, we'll go to you. You caught me, Jay. Introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Jay Weitzler.
Pizzeria's near you.
The first one is Mulberry Street Pizzeria, 15,100.
I'm sorry.
You understand why
I don't know what I said. My Google started getting crazy. I am the secretary of the organization. I'm on a liaison committee with both the Buckley School and the Hillside Federation. And regarding the Buckley School, I want to, on behalf of all of us in Sherman Oaks, thank them for the assistance they gave the neighbors on Stansbury for the yearly massive Halloween celebration between Ventura Boulevard and the Buckley School. They were very supportive of that. They really worked hard, as did the council office, in making that a wonderful, wonderful evening. There are so many people that enjoy Halloween up and down that street, and Buckley was a very strong supporter and participant in that. I'd also like to point out that they've had a lot of complaints about people not stopping both at the corner of Valley Vista and Stansbury, and that's a particularly strange corner, as anybody that goes there knows. Both at that corner and the corner west of that at Camino de la Cumbre and Valley Vista. So please be very careful, come to a stop at those intersections because there are a lot of children there. The school, and I believe the council district is working hard as well, is trying to get a four-way crosswalk at the intersection of Stansbury and Valley Vista, but it isn't there yet. So please be careful about that.
Thank you.
Real quickly, regarding the Hillside Federation, we had Councilman Paul Koretz as our speaker last night, and many thanks were given to him, deservedly so. He was our former council person, as you know. He's been very, very supportive of the Hillside communities. He's been very strong against Senate Bills 9 and 10. Unfortunately, that was unsuccessful, but it was for no lack of his trying. And I want everyone to know that we should all appreciate his efforts in the support of our area as well as the people in his council districts.
Thank you. Thank you. Andy?
Hi, everyone. My name is Andy Solomon. I'm from the City Attorney's Office. I'm your neighborhood prosecutor. I handle a lot of the problems in the neighborhood that need some coordination. I typically work with Alex, who you know from Council District 4. I work with Officer Saldana and Officer Romo and anyone in the community. A lot of the neighborhood council involvement also shapes what we see. You guys know what's in the community better than any of us. So we take what you say very seriously and we work on solutions. If you ever need to reach me, best way to reach me is my email, andy.solomon, SOLIMAN, @lacity.org. Thank you.
And just for the record, you're an attorney and you prosecute if necessary, correct?
Correct. My underlying power is in prosecution from the state of California, but I try to resolve things in many different ways. So it's not only crime, I work on any public safety issue, or I can direct you to the people you need to help you with whatever issue you have.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Ryan from our Assemblyman's office.
Thank you, Richard. Hi, everyone. My name is Ryan Ahari. I am the Sherman Oaks Field Representative for Assemblymember Adrian Nazarian. I'm here tonight to give everyone an update as to what our office is doing. First off, Jules, thank you very much for sending along the event details for the SOHA toy drive. The Assemblymember is very happy to be joining you all in December. We are at our office. We'll be having a COVID vaccine town hall tomorrow with the Armenian community and the community at large to dispel any myths about the COVID vaccine. This will be happening tomorrow from 5:30 to 6:30 on YouTube Live. I will be sharing these details so folks can join. If you have questions to ask our medical providers, they will be local Armenian physicians, and we are co-sponsoring with the Greater Valley Glen Neighborhood Council as well as the LA Valley College. A couple other town halls. We're having an earthquake resilience town hall on December 7th from 6 to 7 p.m. with Senator Ben Allen, Dr. Lucy Jones, and Assemblymember Nazarian also on Zoom. And we are hosting a holiday toy drive with Councilmember Paul Krikorian's office on December 16th from 10 to 12 p.m. at First Christian Church in North Hollywood.
Wait a minute, Bob, cut him off. We don't need competition on toy drives.
I'll be sure, Richard, I'll be sure not to link to that toy drive. But last thing is for anyone who needs help with the DMV, unemployment benefits, the franchise tax board, wondering where your stimulus check is, please contact our office. We're always more than happy to help. I'll be leaving my information in the chat so you all can get a hold of me. Thank you again, Richard, and everyone for having us here tonight.
Thank you. Next up is our senior lead officers, Officer Saldana and also Officer Raman.
Thank you, Richard. Good evening, everybody. I'm Officer Saldana. I'm the senior lead officer for the southern portion of Sherman Oaks. I cover everything south of Ventura towards Mulholland, between Sepulveda, on Ventura Boulevard, between Sepulveda and Coldwater Canyon. Our main problem in the southern portion of Sherman Oaks, right now in the southern portion of Sherman Oaks, we have an increase, about a 5% increase in property crime. Again, most of the property crime that has been occurring is our burglary from motor vehicles, and theft from motor vehicles are our number one, pretty much for the whole city of Los Angeles. I know there was some concerns on some follow home robberies that we had recently. One of the celebrities on Valley Vista was hit, was followed home, and there were some shots fired. Luckily nobody was hit or injured during that incident. Our robbery homicide division is handling all these type of robberies. The Los Angeles Police Department has identified 110 follow home robberies. These suspects are normally the same trend as the knock-knock burglars that we had. There are several gangs related. Out of those 110 follow home robberies, Los Angeles Police identified 107 were all male blacks, and 3 of the crimes were male Hispanics. These individuals are being followed by a location like the Melrose location, the jewelry district, high-end restaurants, and they're really watching what type of jewelry you guys are wearing and stuff like that. So these guys are pretty dangerous. So we, like I said, we are working on them. The robbery homicide division, which basically is in downtown, are the ones working on this specific crimes.
Okay. Officer Ramo.
Yes. Good evening, everyone. If I can just add to Officer Saldana's crime stats regarding the following of the individuals. If you believe that you're being a victim of somebody that's following you, do not go straight home. Go straight to the nearest police department and call 911. If you go straight home, the suspects now know where you live, or at least the area. So as you're driving straight to the police station, call 911 and give a good description of the suspect's vehicle and how many individuals are in the car. Again, thank you, everyone. I'm Senior Lead Officer Romo. I cover the northern part of Sherman Oaks, from the 405 to Coldwater, Fulton area, to some parts of Chandler, Magnolia, to Ventura Boulevard. I also have the same crime issues in my area as well. A lot of it is property crime. I was having some burglaries and GTA and BFMs. A lot of these crimes are crimes of opportunity, such as grand theft autos. I'd like to remind everyone to make sure you double lock your vehicles. If you're parking on the street, park in a well-lit area, and double check that your vehicle is locked with an alarm system, specifically audio related. That this way your neighbors know that something something is being done to your car. A lot of our BFMB's reports that come across my desk, again, it's crimes of opportunity, where I like to remind everyone to please hide all your valuable items in the car. Again, double check your vehicles. in park in a well-lit area. As far as the burglaries, I was having, last month we talked about the Chilean burglars in a particular area. That particular area, the area that my neighborhood watch group is very, very strong. I strongly believe that because we have such a strong neighborhood watch group and interaction with them, the burglaries slowly slow down. So if you're in a neighborhood and you're not sure who your block captain is, please reach out to me at 40229@lapd.online, 40229@lapd.online. And I would love to have you as one of my neighborhood watch groups, because without your help, I am not able to conduct my police work as easy as I can. So I'd love to have you as my neighborhood watch group. So please reach out to me. Thank you very much.
And hopefully, yeah, quickly.
I have one more question there, Richard. I'm sorry. There's a menorah lighting November 30th at the Galleria on Sepulveda and Ventura. It's going to be from 5 o'clock to 6:30. Officer Omo and myself are going to be there. So just to give you a heads up.
Okay, and hopefully you'll be at the toy drive.
That is correct, sir.
So people can, talk with you one-on-one, and no more Zoom, actually meet people. And rumor has it your boss's boss will be at the event as well. Chief Moore.
He's always there.
He's always there. He's been coming. Chief Moore has been coming here probably for about 12 years. When he started out just as I think he was in charge of the Valley way back when. Okay, next up, Maria, update.
Hi, everybody. I have a few quick updates. You all know we have been battling the state over housing bills that end our single-family neighborhoods, allowing no local control over development or density in our neighborhoods. At our September SOHA meeting, we had Mayor Bill Brand from Redondo Beach talk about a statewide ballot initiative he was introducing that would amend the state constitution and return control over land use and zoning to local jurisdictions. The initiative has now received title and summary, and they can start collecting signatures now, so it can be on the November 2022 ballot. So if any of you are interested in collecting signatures in your neighborhood or among your friends, please sign up on their website, ourneighborhoodvoices.com. And also, you all know that we have been working on an ordinance for SB 9 with Councilmember Koretz. There are provisions in SB 9 that allow some local control over how the bill is implemented, but the city must formally act on these provisions with an ordinance, or we have no protection from land speculation that this bill encourages. We circulated this ordinance to cities all over the state, and many have replied back to us that they have implemented versions of the ordinance in their communities. But Councilmember Koretz has not received a second on this motion from any council member, which is necessary to bring it to City Council for a full vote. So we have personally reached out to many City Council members to get them on board. This is an ordinance that does not stop SB 9 or development, but to make sure that our neighborhoods do not become a target for land speculation. So I will keep everyone informed as we hopefully get more and more council members to join in.
Why do you think that there's no second for his motion?
I don't know. I think it takes a lot of political courage to stand up and do that. And
I did want to interrupt and say our planning director is in discussions with both Councilmember Koretz's office and I believe your team, Maria, to talk about this.
Oh, I will, yeah, and I will address that because I have a question for you as well, Councilmember Raman.
Okay, thank you. And lastly, Bob Anderson.
Hi, everybody. I'm Bob Anderson, and I'm going to talk a little about redistricting tonight because everything is moving very, very quickly. If you read our newsletter, you saw that Sherman Oaks is in Council District 3 with a new council member, Bob Blumenfield. Well, that's wrong. After that map was published and before the newsletter went to printing, a few things changed. The commission approved one map, the city council has modified it, and Sherman Oaks, all of Sherman Oaks, thankfully, every piece of us, is continuing in Council District 4 with Councilmember Raman. And that there's some really good news. Not only is Sherman Oaks whole, but the district is quite changed. Instead of being about 30% Valley in CD4 as it is now, the new district is going to be 70% Valley in CD4. So Council District 4 becomes the only district that goes over the hill, and it's got a 70% Valley majority, which means some more voting power for the Valley, which we deserve. We deserve 5.7 districts, and that's what we got. Now, of course, that map's not final yet either. There's another public hearing on it next week, and the council does not make it final till somewhere near the end of November or early December. But we're hoping that the major changes are done with, and there's just going to be some minor tweaks. And Councilmember Raman can expect a question on that possibly. We have a lot of questions tonight. I don't know if that one will get in. But that's the news on redistricting. And I think that may change some of the questions people have for Councilmember Raman. Thanks, Richard.
Okay, thank you very much. With that, I'd like to introduce our council member, Councilmember Raman. She's been our council member for about 11 months now. And based upon what we see with redistricting, it's going to continue as part of the same district. So with that, I'd like to introduce our council member, Nithya Raman.
Hi, everybody. Richard, did you want me to do a little intro?
Yeah, if you can do like a 5 or 10 minute intro, and then we'll go to questions.
Okay, great. Well, so thank you everyone for having me today. It's always a pleasure to be here. A few weeks ago, I was concerned that I was going to lose 100% of my district as it currently stands and have a totally new set of constituents to meet and to interact with. And I'm, it's been a really interesting process, this redistricting process, but here I am. We have 60% of the district as it stands intact, and 40% has been changed. And most of that change happened when, as Bob said, mid-city and central city areas essentially moved to Valley neighborhoods. So we've added now the neighborhoods of Encino and part of Reseda. We've lost Toluca Lake in the Valley, but we've gotten parts of Studio City in the most recent map in front of the city council. And we still have all of the Hollywood Hills. We still have all of Los Feliz, and we added a little bit in Los Feliz. I lost a little bit of my neighborhood in Silver Lake, but we retained my part of Silver Lake as well as half of the reservoir in Silver Lake. And so that's what the new parameters of the district are looking like. And I have to tell you that I'm really happy to be here as your council member. I love Sherman Oaks. I love knocking doors there in the primary. And I'm so excited to continue representing you in council going forward. As Bob said, I don't anticipate major changes to the map at this point from the city council. We'll see maybe some minor edits on the boundaries. I put some in, mostly not impacting Sherman Oaks in any way, but addressing really the ends in Reseda, addressing some of the issues in Hollywood where kind of coherent neighborhoods had been split, addressing some issues in Los Feliz and kind of the Silver Lake boundaries. But beyond that, we haven't also tampered with this version of the map much. And I imagine that it will go forward in much the same configuration that it is today. And so looking forward to continuing to serve you for the next 3 years at least. And I hope that we can continue to serve you in ways that make your experience of living in the city of Los Angeles as wonderful as I know it can be. I wanted to just share that I've been very happy over these past few weeks to have spent quite some time in Sherman Oaks with residents at various events. Our office did a walk with the Sherman Oaks Chamber of Commerce and the bid to visit with businesses along Ventura Boulevard to understand a little bit more of the challenges they were facing post-pandemic or somewhat post-pandemic era, and to see how we can support them through legislation and through programming that can directly address their needs. Some of those needs included things like better street cleaning and more frequent street cleaning, which we are in the process of addressing through our contract with the LA Conservation Corps. And I hope that you'll see the benefits of that in the coming months. They wanted additional resources for addressing issues related to homelessness. And I hope that you'll see some more resources coming to the neighborhood around that. Neighborhoods, particularly restaurants that we've met with both through the business visit tour and through a restaurant working group that Alex and others in our office have been holding on a regular basis, have really been excited about the alfresco dining program and the ways in which that alfresco dining program has been able to supplement restaurant revenues at a time when restaurant revenues have been very, very tenuous. And so we are working within the city to make sure that the alfresco program continues, and that through the restaurant beverage program, we're able to make the permitting process for things like these easier going forward so that restaurants have an easier go of it. I think that the city can do a lot to make things better going forward for small businesses, make it easier for them to survive, particularly during a very uncertain time, and hopefully to thrive as we move into brighter times. The other thing that I just wanted to emphasize is that what we heard from restaurants in the Sherman Oaks area was really interesting. The alfresco program was an example of the city responding in an emergency fashion to the need for changes in city codes that would enable those businesses to change their operations so that they could operate in a COVID safe way, right? So they could do outdoor dining, basically. That program almost universally got good marks from participating restaurants. And so for me, that serves as a really useful model. When's the last time you heard, I had a great experience going to City Hall and getting this permit? This was one where I heard that over and over again from businesses who worked with the city to do that. And so for me, that's a really important lesson. And as a member of the Economic Development Committee at City Hall, we are really working with the departments that put that process together, trying to learn from that, the innovations that made that as successful and smooth as it was, and trying to ensure that those lessons continue to be implemented as we roll out alfresco dining in a more permanent way, and as we roll out some of the other, I think, changes that we want to make that can help restaurants do better in the coming weeks and months.
Okay.
The other final piece that I just wanted to share with everybody was that we've been doing more outreach work and investment on homelessness, and I'm sure there'll be questions on homelessness today. But I did just want to plug that we had our first Sherman Oaks Neighborhood Support Day, which means that we had services, including a shower and volunteers coming in to help connect people who are experiencing homelessness to services in Sherman Oaks. And we're going to be doing another one in December. So stay tuned. I would love it if SOHA could include that in their newsletter. We're always looking for volunteers for those. And they're very good events at making sure that people who are experiencing homelessness are more regularly connected to services and can actually move off the streets effectively. So with that, I want to close and thank you again for having me and looking forward to answering some questions.
Okay. So Matt, do you have questions?
You're on mute, Matt.
I guess he has no questions. Oh, there he is.
Sorry about that. I have to chat back and forth with Bob as far as to open up mics for folks, and I did get distracted. So Councilmember Raman, we do have a lot of questions tonight. So hopefully I guarantee you we're not going to get to all of them. The questions are not from me, Matt. They're from, I will let you know who is asking them so that you can address them and not me. So if you get mad at one of the questions that's being asked, it's not me who's asking, it's just I'm the asker. So the first set of questions, I'm not going to go to the audience because we have a lot of different questions on the same subject matter. So I'm just going to read some of them and paraphrase some of them. I know you've heard these before, but this is on number one topic on the questions that were sent in is on homelessness. No surprise on that. So one person asked, what have you done to reduce the homeless population in Sherman Oaks, and please be specific. The Jay Weitzler wants to know why the city council is welcoming Afghan refugees, especially to Los Angeles, when we don't even have enough funds or services to accommodate the 60,000 already homeless people that are here. Let's see, Sean Berkeley wants to know operating on the premise that government cannot be the only solution to a homeless situation, what can individuals do in your district to help the situation? Mm-hmm. Deborah Reynolds is talking about the biggest problem, which is homelessness. She trusts that you're working on it, trusts that you're familiar with the bridge housing, what's being done in Sherman Oaks to have it. Stacy Frazier also is asking about it. Anyway, so if you want to address some of the, actually, I think Stacy Frazier, no. So one of the folks that actually talked about our last council member, we had actually given a list of a few locations for bridge housing in Sherman Oaks, and nothing was done with those. So if you want to address those, then we'll go on to the next subject.
Yeah, so we have a few key locations in the Sherman Oaks area that we've been paying a lot of attention to from our office. This includes individuals living at the Van Nuys 101 encampment, the Ventura and Stern location, Coldwater 101, and in a slightly different way, individuals, not usually in an encampment, but single individuals who are living along Ventura Boulevard. These have required different kinds of responses from our office, which we have put into place some, and then the final piece is RVs. We have some RVs along Sepulveda Boulevard and some, or actually primarily there in the Sherman Oaks area. There's a couple that are on side streets, but that's the largest number. So let me talk about those locations in groups that I think will help us organize the office's responses to these. So at both Van Nuys 101 and Coldwater 101, we've been able to house individuals that are on city property. And we've had some progress. Coldwater 101 was clear for a while, but now there's a couple of individuals who are back there again, and we've sent out our teams again to work with them. So we hope that you'll see progress at that site soon. Van Nuys 101, we were able to house everyone permanently who was on city property. We now have individuals who are living on Caltrans property. And so Alex and our homelessness team at the office, we have a 4-person homelessness team. So if you ever contact the office and want to ask questions or speak to someone about homelessness, about a specific individual or an encampment that you have kind of questions about or concerns about, I encourage you to reach out to us. And Alex is going to put some contact information in the chat for us. At Van Nuys 101, we were able to house everyone who's on city land, and we're working now with Caltrans to respond to the individuals who are on Caltrans land, which the city and LA SAN and our outreach workers actually cannot access without partnership with Caltrans. That has always taken a little bit longer, but we are working on it. And we hope that you'll see progress at both of these locations very quickly. There are 2 longer-term challenges that we've been facing, which is how do we get support for the individuals along Ventura, some of whom are suffering from some mental illness, but who are not so sick that they get DMH home teams coming out. So the Department of Mental Health from the LA County is our primary response to mental health issues. But we have set up a system which is so broken that you only get help from the Department of Mental Health when you're so sick that you're basically completely helpless. We have no tools available to help those people who have some vulnerability related to mental illness, but who are not sick enough to have those home teams come out. So we're supplementing that in our office with a multidisciplinary team, which we've already contracted out and whose workers should start in the next few weeks. It's taken some time to find workers, the city and county are facing the same issues that every other business is facing right now, which is there has been a paucity of workers. And so staffing up for that contract has been hard, but this is something that we recognize was a need, particularly along the Ventura Boulevard stretch. But we will have resources as a council office to be able to take this head on in the coming weeks, which I'm very excited about. RVs, the Department of Transportation is not intervening right now in enforcing parking regulations related to RVs or campers that have evidence of people who are living in them. This was a regulation that changed long before I got to council and has not changed since I've come here. And so our response has been to say, okay, well, we can do outreach, but unless we find a place to be able to take the RV to, we don't have a response. We were attempting to work with the city and county, with the county and with the federal government to try and get the Oxnard lot, which the previous council member had identified as a potential space for an RV parking lot. That's a lot that was controlled by the Army Corps of Engineers. After months of negotiating with them, that option is now off the table, which I'm very, very disappointed about. And that's due to federal government difficulties. We're not going to be able to move forward on it. So recognizing that this is a challenge, not just in Sherman Oaks, but also in Los Feliz around Franklin Boulevard, there's a cluster of RVs for whom we've been able to find very few real solutions. And because we need more housing options in the district overall, we have actually now contracted with a private consultant who will help us find possibilities, not just city-owned lots, but private lots, private buildings, places where we'll be able to find more locations for people to go, because there's no way really that we can move people without having a place for them to go who are living in RVs right now. So that's the work that we're engaged in. Ours is a very solutions-oriented office, and we're really looking at what can really help address encampments, get people into housing effectively and permanently. We've seen success where we've been able to find housing, and we're continuing to work on all of these encampments here in Sherman Oaks and beyond.
And can you just address Jay Weitzel's part of that question as far as why is the city council welcoming refugees as far as from different countries?
Well, the resources that we would need in order to be able to address homelessness and the resources that are available for refugees for resettlement, these are different pots of money. And so it's not that being open to more refugees or providing support for other kinds of individuals who are seeking recourse or support in this city would prevent us in any way from being able to address homelessness effectively here. I think the question is really just, can we do the work to address homelessness effectively? I think we can. I've been here less than a year, and we've already made a significant amount of progress in the district. We've housed between close to 20% of our unhoused population here in the district. We've seen encampments go away because we've worked so effectively, and those areas stay clear. That's what you need to do, is focused work, and that's what we're doing.
In Sherman Oaks, you've seen this going away. I mean, I've been in Sherman Oaks my entire life, and it's not getting any better. It's only getting worse. Do you see it?
I don't think I don't think that the numbers are going up. They have seen decreases in Sherman Oaks. I think I talked to you specifically about places where we've housed folks on city land. There's some jurisdictional challenges in Sherman Oaks which have prevented us from being as effective as at other encampments which are fully on city land. But I hope that you'll see progress soon. It does take some time. Okay.
The next question that we had quite a few questions for was on SB 9, and we're actually going to open up the mic to one of our board members, Maria, to ask her question.
Hi, Maria.
Hi. Councilmember Raman, yes, when we did our motion, we sent you a copy a couple of weeks ago and had a discussion with your planning staff.
Yeah.
Today, I also was told by CD5 staffer that your staff has devoted significant time with CD5 to reach consensus. We have 10 important provisions in this motion that the state allows us to act on, and we hope that they are not removed in order to reach consensus. So will you support Councilmember Koretz's motion and try to keep as much of these provisions intact so we can get this moving before the deadline at the end of the December?
So we are, you know, a couple of things that I want to reassure you, Maria, that I mean, Councilmember Koretz's office is absolutely right. And I think you know Michelle and Meg from our office and how dedicated they are and how communicative they are with both you, with the neighborhood council around planning issues. Like we are really working on this. And I also just want to be clear that actually both offices are still reviewing the motion. Councilmember Koretz's office, from my understanding of where we are, I just got briefed before this meeting. They're not signed off on, they've made changes to the document that you sent over, and they're still finagling some of those issues as well. So we're working with them to say, what is it that is your priority? What is it that's our priority? One of the things that we are very, we talked about, you know, we opposed SB 9 in the council. One of the reasons that we provided for that, which I think is still really important, particularly for our district, is provisions for environmentally sensitive areas and high fire severity zones. We have the biggest portion of the Hollywood Hills in our district, along with Griffith Park and other areas which are in very, very high fire risk zones, areas that are zoned for habitat conservation. And so we want to make sure that the rules, the implementation memo that's coming out of planning does more than the state bill does to ensure that those areas are exempted from construction under this. I don't think it's safe to be building more housing in areas where it's hard to get out, even now, where emergency vehicles already find it difficult to come in at a time when fire hazard is only increasing thanks to climate change. The other piece is clarifying and strengthening protections around things like historic districts, which the bill mentions, but it doesn't clarify what that means for the city of LA. What classifications, what overlay zones that are here in the city of Los Angeles are going to be considered in their implementation of it that will ensure that, you know, it works for our city. We are also in touch closely with the planning department's housing team. And so they've pushed back on certain aspects of this as at variance from their reading of what the law mandates. And so we're working with them. We're working with Matt Glesney from City Planning. I don't know if you've met with him already and shared your concerns with him. So I would just say at this moment, and planning is working with a working group with fire department, with DBS, and with planning. Planning is the lead group there, but they're working with all these other agencies to put together a memo that will encompass all of the city's regulations in their implementation of the state law. So I think we are really working to get to a place where we can also sign on to this and support it, and we want to. And we want to make sure that whatever the implementation guidance memo that emerges clarifies and sets at ease some of the real concerns that residents have around this, while also staying true to some of the goals that I think I had put out a memo about my concerns about the bill. I also had, you know, some things that I thought were positives about it, while still preserving what I think the goal of the bill was, and hopefully getting some of the positives from it as well.
Well, and I thank you for that. It is important that even those areas in the flats are concerned about adding more than the 2 units per lot split, that the bill tells the city you can limit it to just those 2 as opposed to allowing ADUs to be added. We also think that an affordability clause should be added because it's affordable housing we're having a problem with. And Senator Atkins wanted specifically to say that it's up to cities to determine whether they covenant those units. We have a lot of objective zoning that should protect some of us, even though it will allow some of these added units to be built. So we hope that we can work together so that we can do the right thing for those of us that have lived here and really want to help.
Yeah, and Murray, I would say that, you know, I'm grateful that we're already working together on it. Like, I really value your input, and I know that my office does. And part of the reason they devote so much time and energy to working with you, to speaking to other council offices, and to working with the planning department is because I think we see this as addressing a broader crisis around housing that is very real, right? Yep. That's what the state effort is trying to do. It's trying to address this broader crisis around housing. And we've put forward legislation, especially around an affordable housing overlay zone, around making 100% affordable housing easier, faster, simpler, cheaper to build in the city, that really tries to say, we have a crisis here, like, let's work on this crisis.
Yes.
Okay, Maria, we need to move on, sorry.
Anyway, so I just want to say thank you for your partnership and for your insights, and we are here and we're working in good faith with you, and I hope that we can continue to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so the next question is going to be asked by two people, actually. It's Gregory Wright. You should be unmuted, and if you can start with your question, and then after you're finished with your question, then Hillary Pickles, you've got the same type of question, but if you could just, if Hillary, when Gregory is done, if you could just do the last part of your question. There's been something going on in Sherman Oaks that a lot of people don't know about. So Gregory, you want to start with your question? Okay, Gregory's, I'll ask his question and then we'll finish with Hillary. There's been a lot of, I understand that there's the streetlight outages are mostly due to destructive copper thefts that through broken holes in the light bases. So are there any plans to retrofit or beefing up the streetlights to slow down this outrageous crime against our infrastructure? And then Hillary, you want to go into the last part of your question? Okay, I think we have a little bit of a glitch. So Hillary, are you there?
Yes, she's coming on now.
Oh, here we go. Thank you. Sorry, I've got a little bit of feedback.
You got a lot of feedback. You want me to do this?
I'm so sorry.
That's okay. You know what? Why don't you mute yourself again, and then let me just ask the last part of it, of your question. So basically, because of Proposition 218, these light fixtures have to be approved. The light fixture repairs have to be approved through City Council motion. So it's a lot of the neighborhoods in Sherman Oaks are the copper that feeds these are being stolen.
Yeah.
And so these neighborhoods are dark now, and it takes months and months and months of darkness for the City Council to approve. What are you doing to get this fast-tracked and number one, the lights back on in these neighborhoods, but number two, so that the city is not wasting more and more and more money on these thefts?
Yeah, I mean, this is a great question. We have been trying to figure out what we can do. So I think my best response right now is really just to say, I'd love to come back to your next meeting and tell you what I plan to do on this. We've been trying to figure out how we can respond to it. This, as you know, the city machinery is quite, it's very bureaucratic to find solutions to these things. But I actually, the Prop 218 thing, I'm not following from Hillary's question.
Well, basically 218. Basically, it says when discovered that the requests have been approved, pursuant to the cites that the city lights will be fixed with City Council approval, or if not, then there'll be a levy against the property owners to fix the lights.
Right. So we are working with street lighting to prioritize requests, particularly in neighborhoods that have seen significant outages. And I know from driving through some of the neighborhoods at night that there have been strings of whole streets, which are very dark, including, I saw that too when I came to the Halloween event at Buckley School, that the surrounding neighborhoods were very dark. We have been trying to get Bureau of Street Lighting to prioritize those areas for fixes. So far, it hasn't been moving as fast as we want it to. When we encountered this problem with tree trimming, What we finally did to solve it, which took a couple of months to put together, was that we put together a discretionary fund allocation that funded overtime for tree trimming that we were able to direct to areas where we had significant need. And particularly areas where we'd gotten reports of dangerous trees that were not scheduled to be trimmed for like 2 years, according to urban forestry. So we were able to use our funds from our council office to be able to prioritize those areas that we knew had needs that weren't being addressed by the department. So we're looking for a similar fix for this issue as well. We're working on it, and I hope that we can report back on something that will be a workaround for this very important issue that we can report back to you in a couple of months, or maybe in your next meeting.
Okay. Bob Anderson has a question for you, and his question has to do with redistricting, as well as a few other folks asked about redistricting as well. Bob?
Can I answer one question about homelessness that's in the chat?
Sure.
Which is from Lorna Boyd. Lorna has asked, can you affect a change in sanitation policy regarding trash pickup in homeless encampment areas? And I just wanted to say that the city has done 2 things in response to trash at homeless encampments that I just wanted to highlight for everybody here. So when I first started, I think I mentioned this in my last appearance here at SOHA, we had sanitation pickup only once a week for 1 day of service per council district for bulky item pickups and for other spot cleanings and things like that, because of the budget cuts resulting from pandemic related losses in the city. The American Recovery Act, and because of early retirements in sanitation as a result of, again, related to the same issue. American Recovery Act funded the city budgets again. Sanitation has now rehired and filled up its slots for a council district again. And so now we're back at 5 days a week for the first time. And Care and Care Plus cleanups, which are specifically targeted at homeless encampments, are now happening 5 days a week. This change just happened. And so I hope that with more cleanups and more days of cleanups per council district, that some of the issues that you're talking about will be more effectively addressed. The second piece I just wanted to share with you is that we passed a piece of legislation, which is now being piloted in Council District 4, which is having specialized trash cans and trash pickup specifically for homeless encampments. And so that's a pilot that's being done only in Council District 4, because that was a piece of legislation that I put forward. And I hope that that also will result in cleaner streets. So what we can do through Alex is share with you where the trash cans and where that pilot project is being carried out in the district. It's in a few locations across the district. And we'd love to get your feedback on how effective you think this pilot is doing, and whether it's something that should be expanded throughout the entire district and throughout the entire city. Apologies, Bob, please go ahead with your question.
Introductory remarks saying you don't expect many more changes. You're on the ad hoc committee. You had a meeting about a week ago, and now there's another public hearing coming up. Can you give us kind of a fill-in on sort of how you expect it all to wrap up? You have one more committee meeting.
So there's no more ad hoc committee meetings.
Okay.
Yeah, that was it. It was just the one meeting, and it was very fast. It was really.
I watched it.
Yeah, and yeah, we don't expect major changes to the map going forward. So I think what you're seeing is very likely what you're going to get. Maybe some changes around the margins. I don't have full knowledge of what kind of motions, if any, other council offices are introducing. But because the public hearings are already being held, I think ideally the changes should have already been made. That's why I tried to introduce everything that I wanted for all the little adjustments around the edges that I wanted to make beforehand at the council meeting where we approved the map, because the public hearings are really supposed to be commenting on the shape of the map going forward. Right. And so to make those, and so to make those changes after the public hearings are done, I think is not in good form. And so I don't anticipate many other changes.
That's great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So So we have two questions for the.
Wait, was that Bob's only question related to redistricting?
That's the only question that I opened him up for.
Okay, well, thank you. And I just wanted to say thank you to Bob for his advocacy and his diligence on redistricting. There wasn't a week that went by through the past redistricting process that I didn't get a very detailed update from Bob with an analysis of what had happened in the commission's meetings that week and his opinions and the opinions of SOHA as a whole on what they had hoped to see, what you all hope to see in the map. And I think that you should all be, very proud of Bob and the work that he did, because the thing that you had most wanted, which was to have, one council district with 70% Valley and 30% city instead of vice versa, which is what my district has been since I started. And only one crossover district has come to fruition. And so kudos to all of you for your diligent advocacy. I know this is not the first time that you've been advocating for this. This has been a long time goal of SOHA. And so kudos to all of you for your hard work and for your focus on this, because I think it was heard by the commission loud and clear.
Okay. So this is, I think you can answer this quickly. So I'm going to buzz through this. So I couldn't read the first name on one of them, but Janet Couples asked the same thing. Why do you only use answering machines at your office? 3 out of 4 times, no one returns my calls. You are not being responsible to your constituents. That's from Janet Couples. And then the other question is, recently I called your downtown office 3 times and no one answered the phone. Once I did receive an answering machine, no response. Is that appropriate service? So it's a similar question from 2 different people.
Well, we have three people who are supposed to be answering phones. And so to Janet, I suppose I would just say, or I hope you're calling the main line. And I'd love to just get a sense of where you're having trouble connecting with our office. Because from my vantage point, and I'm in the City Hall office right now, we have, not now because it's 8:15 p.m., but we have someone here who's on the phone all day answering calls. So during working hours, you should be able to get a pickup unless someone is already on the phone.
Okay.
Yeah, and we have 3 people who are really, that's their job, is to answer phone calls.
Do you want to just give the phone numbers to make sure that they're calling the right numbers?
Yeah, let me give that to you.
I can put those phone numbers in the chat, and
that would be great.
Yeah, and for anyone who would like my city cell phone number, I'm more than happy. If you send me an email, I'm more than happy to give that to you. I've also given that to Janet, so I hope we can speak soon on my city phone. That may be easier for you to call me directly, but I will put the office's phone numbers in the chat.
So Alex, you've already been in touch with Janet?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
Bob, the audience doesn't see the chat, just the panelists.
Oh, okay. So let me say the phone number for the main office line, because whoever answers it can funnel it out to the field offices as needed, or funnel it out to the right deputy. So if it's a call about homelessness, we can funnel it out to our homelessness team. If it's a call about planning, we'll get our planning team involved. The phone number is 213-473-7004. And the email is contactcd4@lacity.org. I'll say that one more time, 213-473-7004. And the email address is contactcd4@lacity.org.
Okay. So the next question I'm going to ask, Bob, if you can open up the mic to Suzanne, Lauver, to a follow-up question. The person that asked this question is not on the call, so I'm going to ask the question for him. When you spoke to the Sherman Oaks Homeowners Association Zoom meeting about a year ago, you were in favor of defunding the police. In view of the increasing crime in Los Angeles and recently in Sherman Oaks, do you still believe that the police budget should be reduced?
Well, I voted for an increase to the police budget this past year. So, and I don't believe I would have used the phrase defunding the police in a discussion with you. So I'm not sure exactly what they're referring to. I will talk about the things that I do believe, which I think are really important, which is that I've always talked throughout my campaign and throughout my time in office, and what I've chosen to work on in my office is really to say that there are issues in Los Angeles for which we have been sending out LAPD. And I don't think, and the evidence is on the streets, that that has been a very effective response. This is particularly for issues related to homelessness and mental illness and substance abuse. And what we've done in our office has been really to try and get more funding for these issues that are, directed towards our district, and more funding for these issues that are for the whole city, that can have specialized teams going out to address exactly these kinds of issues. We have a circle pilot that has begun operating in both Hollywood and Venice, which will triage calls that are coming into 911 that are related to homelessness and mental illness, and triage them to teams of trained providers who can go out to those calls. And I will continue to advocate for more of those resources. I think for me, the biggest piece of what we're missing in Los Angeles is mental health care services. A really, really big piece that's missing. We, as I said earlier, and I'm just going to reiterate it again, we wait until people are near death on our streets before we have allocated funding from mental health services to go and help them. That's a shame. It doesn't need to be that way, and it shouldn't be that way. And I will continue to fight for resources, both for our district and for our city, that can help us address this issue with urgency.
Okay. Okay, Suzanne is not part of the meeting, so I'm just going to skip over her question. It was just, actually, no, I won't. I'll summarize.
So I just wanted to say one other thing. Lisa Petrus asked a question about housing in affluent areas in the hills being protected over the flatlands related to the SB 9 conversation. And I did want to say that I think these are questions around equity are really, really important for our office. They are at the center of our work. We've really prioritized thinking about equity as part of our work. To me, the question around hillside areas and not building there is very much to do with fire risk and fire safety. It is not about affluence versus lack of affluence. It happens to be where a lot of wealthier residents do live, although there is a mix of residents in the hillsides as well as in the flatlands. But I think I understand that. I'm sorry that it smacks of unfairness, but I do think that we don't have the resources to be able to address fires in the hillsides right now. We just don't.
Well, I also want you, I don't know who Lisa Petrus is, but I also want to let you know that I see another comment from her that she has no difficulty reaching your office. They've been very responsive.
Oh, great.
So
thank you, Lisa.
somebody.
And Lisa has hosted a few of us at her home as well. And
okay,
and
all
pleasure
right.
to get to know Lisa.
All right, cool. So the question that I wanted, the follow-up question was that Suzanne had asked, is that she had a burglary at her house. And this was also following up on defunding the police and the lack, the lack of some of the police resources. She had a burglary at her house. She is not a Desperate Housewives person. She's not a celebrity. She didn't get any PR on it. There's not a citywide dragnet looking for her stuff. LAPD has informed her that they're no longer working on her case because they don't have the funds to go ahead and do that. Mm-hmm. So you want to address that?
Well, so, as I said, LAPD's budget has been restored in this most recent budget cycle. And I know that there were issues related to staffing, that people had left, and that new classes that were supposed to come in didn't come in because of issues related to COVID and related to the budget cuts. I think the last report I got was that 2 more classes have started already. And so I think staffing and funding should be back at what they were before. And to Suzanne, I want to say that no one should have to go through a robbery. And I'm so sorry for what you went through. And if you believe that there is more work to be done in terms of solving this crime, please do reach out to our office. Please do reach out to Alex. We're in close touch with LAPD for a number of issues, and we'd be happy to work with you to try and see whether we can move forward if you believe that there is further resolution to be had.
Okay.
Matt, we have about 10 more minutes.
I know. I saw your chat. So the next question, Tom Glick his mic should be open. Tom, you want to ask your question?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm having internet problems, so I have to have my.
I saw your face before, Tom.
yeah, but it's here. Let me try it so we don't. Hello, Councilmember. How are you? Good to see you.
All right.
Happy Thanksgiving in advance. I hope all is well. I just had a simple question about expanding City Council. I know our mayor, one of our mayoral candidates, the current city attorney, has recommended that we expand City Council to some degree. I suggest 30 and make 15 of them at large, and that way you keep your redistricting. But how do you feel about that?
Okay, that's the at-large thing is a twist that I hadn't thought of before. But yes, I do support expansion of the City Council and have actually, been trying to learn more about Mike Fewer's particular initiative that he wants to put on the ballot. There are places where I agree with it, and there's places where I don't. I don't know, is 30 the right number? I don't know. I'm not sure. I think that having fewer constituents for each council office to manage would make it, would make us more responsive. Although I just want to tell everyone, we've invested in a very big team to address constituent needs. We have one of the biggest field teams in the building. So I hope that you guys do call in because you'll see how quickly we do respond.
Well, I want you to keep your same salary, by the way.
So, and this is where I think I want to push back on Mike's measure a little bit. So everyone's like, oh my goodness, council members make over $200,000 and that's too much money. And sure, we can debate about that. I do just want to say that having that salary, as he's proposed in the measure, I think it will make it very hard for people. If my husband wasn't working and that was the salary, I would have thought twice about running for office with 2 kids. If it was $100,000 a year. And I think there's a lot of people who are not wealthy that would be concerned about how you could live in Los Angeles with a family with $100,000 a year salary, who would be turned away from running for office. And this is not an easy job. It's a job where you have to it's a complaint-driven business. You have to go out there and talk to people, and people are mad at you a lot. And you have to say, let me work with you. I'm here for you. It's hard work to do this. And we want to encourage good people to get into it, people with a service-minded vision for Los Angeles. And I'm not saying that putting it at 100K is going to turn that away, but I just say I want to make sure that we get good folks in here who also can be here and still raise their families and still live in the city of Los Angeles, which, as you all know, is a very, very expensive city to live in. So I have some quibbles with that kind of thing. He also at some point had mentioned cutting the staff sizes. And it's like that would take away the efficiency of reducing the size of council districts completely. You want this level of staff serving a smaller number of residents. And so I think I have some concerns with the way in which this particular measure has been presented, but I don't think it's finalized yet, and I'm still learning more.
Okay, Nancy has an easy question for you. Nancy.
Hi, council member. How are you? Good to see you.
Nice to see you too.
For joining us.
Nancy, if you could summarize the question though quickly so we can get a couple more questions in.
I'm going to do that. Thank you. Matt. Okay, so the main contention that I saw and I'm still seeing about the whole recall Nithya endeavor was really about constituents feeling that your own priorities were taking, were where your focus was primarily over the needs and concerns of your constituents. And an example would be more concerned about protecting the homeless encampments and the homeless than the safety of the constituent residents living nearby. And, I just wonder how you have translated those concerns into facilitating greater attention on meeting the concerns of your resident constituents?
So first of all, I just wanted to say that I was very clear when I ran for office on my approach to homelessness, on my approach to affordable housing, on my approach to a lot of the things that, oh, look at that cute little baby. On a lot of the things that have been taking up a lot of my time when I've been in office. And I, you know, the majority of residents in the district did vote for me. And I think they did that because they thought that the policies that I was proposing would work to address some of the bigger challenges that we're facing in Los Angeles right now. One of those huge issues is homelessness. And I want to just recount a story to you that I heard last night in a homeowners association meeting that I attended in another neighborhood. So I was talking to them about, you know, they were naming particular encampments. Some of those encampments were encampments that where we had housed everybody, and the encampment wasn't there anymore, which was very exciting. The work of our homelessness team has been very effective there. And then he said, "Oh, is this other encampment in your district?" He said, "I saw that people were doing a cleanup. They were breaking tents down. And then 2 hours later, the same residents were back." And I said, A, that's not in my district. And B, that's why we don't do that. Because just breaking tents down and shooing people away doesn't work to actually end the challenges around homelessness. It doesn't end the condition of homelessness, which is why people are living out there in the first place. It doesn't help those individuals access the basic services that they need to actually move effectively and permanently off of the streets. And it doesn't end any of the problems that house neighbors around those encampments are also dealing with, whatever those may be. And I feel like what we've done is not to be ideological in my response to any of this, but really to say, what is the most effective response to this massive challenge that Los Angeles is facing? And let me invest my council district's resources and my office's resources and our city's resources in pushing towards that effective response. And I think for me, to constituents who come to me and say, "Oh, you're not hearing me," I want to tell all of them, I think we have the same goals. I do not want to see people living on the streets of Los Angeles anymore. This is a humanitarian crisis and it needs to end. And what we're doing is what works in LA. And I hope that we can continue doing it. And now that we have, you know, more of a Valley presence, I hope that we can continue doing it very effectively across the entire Valley.
So
Okay,
we have
Matt, one more question.
One more question from an audience member, Scott Allen Meyer. Is your mic open? Scott?
You know,
Bobby, is his mic open? No? Okay. So Richard, you want to leave the last question for you?
No.
Okay. Nithya,
version of Zoom.
No worries. Well, council member, we promised you we'd be finished at 8:30, and it's 8:29. So, if you have anything you want to add.
Well, it's always a pleasure to be speaking to this group, and you know, I hope that we can continue having these discussions. I'm excited to go back to being in person whenever you guys are ready. And I think I said this to Richard when we spoke last time, but the debate that you had in person during the primary was the most fun of the debates that I participated in. You know how to throw a good event. So I'd love to.
And Jules feeds everyone as well.
And we will be forwarding you all the questions so that you'll hopefully get back with those folks that we didn't have time to.
Yeah, that sounds good.
And I understand you're going to be able to attend the toy drive.
Yes, that's right. And we're doing another neighborhood support day that I hope you'll include in your newsletter, as I mentioned earlier, because we love getting volunteers out there. We're doing a couple of other little things in the Valley, in Sherman Oaks specifically, sorry, in the coming week. So I'll have Alex let you know about all of them so that you can include those.
Great.
With that, I'd like to thank you very much for attending the meeting.
All.
And look forward to our next.
Good to see you.
Looking forward to the toy drive. And for everyone else, we have
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Richard,
holidays.
Richard,
bye, everyone.
a couple people had asked on the chat line as far as what the hours of the toy drive was.
11 to 2.
11 to 2.
Perfect.
And
Sunday,
I would add
December 5th.
Gelson's has refreshments there as well. They always
that's a good draw.
sponsor refreshments.
I'll be there to welcome you.
Okay, that's a good draw also. Anyways, and the next meeting, which will be on Zoom, hopefully shortly thereafter we can go live, but it'll be the third Wednesday in January. So look forward to seeing everyone at the toy drive and again in January. And everyone have a good holiday season. And thank you very much, Councilwoman.
Bye. Thank you all.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.